Hello, Jen here with the layout for the bingo challenge for February's My Scrappy Life crop that started yesterday, Friday, and is happening today as well. So February 21st and 22nd. If you're not part of Miranda's group, you should definitely check the link below. I've put it in the description box so you can go and join the group and join in on all the fun. We have a crop every month, and Miranda has a group of designers who will take on some of the challenges and design some inspiration for each of the challenges, as well as there's always a theme for the crop, and there's usually a mood board and a color, kind of like a color combo that goes with each month. So it's lots of fun. There's challenges on Fridays and Saturdays, and even some lives and a Zoom session. So if you are looking to do something monthly where you can get together with a bunch of your online scrappy friends, please come and join the group and join us. So going with the Valentine's theme for February, I was definitely going to work with the more Valentine's themed stuff that I have already pulled out and on my desk anyways. And I am doing the bingo challenge, so I had to pick which bingo I wanted to win. What do we call that? I've been doing a lot of bingo challenges lately, and I never know if there's like a technical term for the winning bingo. Is it like the winning bingo combination? Is there a word for it? Am I overthinking this? I don't know. But what I decided to go with for today, because I kind of always like to do the whole card. I feel like that's a really big challenge for me, and it gives you a ton of stuff to play with. And sometimes, depending on what is in each of the squares, it really does force you to kind of think outside the box. But I've done the whole card a few times, and so I thought I would try to switch it up and do something that's just a little bit different. And so I am going for the X. So that includes both corners and like going diagonally across both ways. So it's a full X. So that's just a little bit different from something that I have done before. So you are welcome to pick absolutely anything that you want to do. But that is what I'm doing. So let me read you what I've got. So starting in the top left-hand corner and working my way down to the bottom right, I have glitter mini paper pad. Then I've got that center free cell. I've got the color pink and mixed media. And then if we go from the top right-hand corner and work our way down to the bottom left-hand corner, I have the color red, foam, again, the free cell in the middle, love, and pattern papers. So I started with mixed media because obviously that has to dry. So I used a little bit of acrylic paint and kind of left the brush marks in there. So I didn't leave it really, really thick and goopy, but I left enough texture that you could definitely see some brush strokes. And then I grabbed out my watercolors, and while the paint was still wet, the acrylic paint was still wet, I went ahead and I used some watercolor over top of it. And I don't know, it just creates this really cool effect because the watercolors like to sit on top of the acrylic. They don't really fully resist it, but they kind of sit on top of it. But when you use your brush and you work it in a little bit, they will absorb. So you have some parts that the watercolor is really vibrant and bright and kind of sitting on top of the acrylic paint. And then you have other spots where I've gone over that spot maybe with the brush a few different times, and it's almost combined and colored the acrylic paint. It looks very nice. It's very cool. It has some like chalky texture to it and some of that more glossy texture of acrylic paint. And yeah, I liked that. So I got my mixed media done first because I was doing fairly light mixed media. It wasn't, really big and goopy acrylic paint. It did dry pretty quickly, but you like to get that done first so that you can play around and get your other supplies going while that's drying. So what you saw me do next was pull out some pieces of paper from mini paper pads. So those are a lot of just like random pieces where maybe I only had 1 or 2 pieces. Some of those came in sampler packs. They're just kind of all those random loose pieces of 6x6 paper pad papers that I keep together because they no longer have a pack to be a part of. So I went through those, grabbed out some of my Valentine's ones. So that also includes pattern paper, which was that bottom corner square as well. So I've got now mixed media, I've got pattern paper, 6x6 mini paper pads. I also am using reds and pinks, so that checks off both of those. I have a little wood veneer that you can see right there that has the word love in it. So that checks off the word love. So really, as of right now, the only things I'm missing is foam and glitter, and those will come. You will see those. So what I decided to do, I kind of put together the different patterns from those 6x6 paper pads that I thought would work together. And I right now don't have a photo in mind. So I quickly gave myself a mat where I knew that I could put a picture. And it's not big enough to be a 4x6, but it's slightly bigger than a 4x3. So I just figured, like, most of the time I like to do 4x3 photos, and I usually scrap only 1 photo at a time. So I figured that was a safe bet for me to kind of put that there. Nothing is glued down though, just in case I want to move stuff around. So I went ahead and picked those 2 pieces that I thought would make a good mat. And then here with everything else, I am cutting them into the shape of hearts. This is not something that I do very often, but I kind of liked the idea of instead of maybe making strips, which is something that I would normally do, or some sort of layered technique like I did in the Anything Goes layout from earlier this morning. That video is already up, so you can definitely go and check that out if you want to. But I took a bunch of scraps of paper in different sizes and I layered that. And that is something that I would be really comfortable with doing, and it's kind of something that I would naturally find myself doing, is just taking some of these smaller scraps and putting them together in a sort of layered cluster that runs vertically down the side of the page. Or again, the strips or washi tape or any of those things that I would run vertically down the side of the page, or even like torn elements where I've done that quite often, where I'll tear the background paper and then layer other torn strips to, make up the whole size of the 12 by 12 background. Just lots of things like that. Those are the things that in my mind, they're what I would just kind of naturally do first. So I thought it might be fun to just switch it up a little bit and cut everything into the shape of hearts. So I took all those patterns. Not all of the papers that I chose were full 6x6 pieces. Some of it was just scraps left over, and then some of them were larger paper, like larger full 6x6 pieces, and I just went ahead and cut into those and made all different sizes of hearts. The wood veneer hearts that you saw me pull out, they're in my little embellishment pack that I have with all of my Valentine stuff, and they're very kind of classic heart shapes. They're very uniform, and so I thought with the paper that would give me the opportunity to make some that were taller, skinnier, bigger, wider, just not fully perfect hearts, very different sizes and shapes, and just create almost like a column that runs right down the side. So while I was kind of putting those together, the one thing that I just felt, and I don't know if this is a me thing or if it was just this layout, so you guys let me know. I felt like, once again, just having the white edge of that paper, I needed some sort of frame or some sort of border. I needed something that made the layout feel like it was being fully contained. I don't know if that makes sense. Let me know what you think. Do you think that it needed this pink cardstock in the background, or do you think it would have been okay just on the white background without me doing this? I don't know. I always feel like I have to do this. I happen to have that pink cardstock sitting with the rest of my Valentine stuff, and so I went ahead and did it. I just cut off probably like a quarter of an inch around the whole thing. And in this case, I didn't just cut some off of the top and the one side. I went around each edge because I had done that mixed media sort of in the middle, and it's not perfectly centered, but it was slightly centered. So if I had only cut the two sides, it would have skewed where that mixed media was. So I just went around all four sides and cut about a quarter of an inch so that I could use that cardstock to give myself a little bit of a border or a frame. I don't know. It could just be me. Maybe when you guys were watching me do it, that didn't kind of pop out as something that this layout needed. I'd be curious to see how you feel, but I went ahead and did it, and then I could go back and put all of my little heart elements back onto the page. So I started with the paper and put that down all first, and then I've got wood veneer, and I've got some foam coming in because that was one of the prompts. And I know you might be thinking foam as in dimensional foam to pop things up. You could definitely do that too. I think it's whatever you interpret that as, but I just happen to have these foam hearts right here, so I went ahead and used those to represent that square that said foam. But if you want to pull out dimensional foam and create a lot of fun layers with your project, by all means, that works too. And then you also saw me use some glittery blue embossing powder, and that is the glitter. I don't tend to go for a lot of glitter on my layouts because, like you, I don't love the glitter fallout, especially when I'm scrapbooking up in my living room, which is what I'm doing. That's why you can see it starting to get dark, because I'm definitely relying on the sunlight in the living room for my videos, but I don't need to get glitter all over the living room. So I pulled out the glitter embossing powder, and I was really inspired by a layout that was done last weekend in the crop that we did with Scrap Shots, where I created a sketch that was a very Valentine's-y grid pattern sketch filled with hearts. And I knew when I designed it that a lot of people were going to take it very literally, because it was very easy to do it literally and do lots of pinks and reds and stuff like that. And one of the ladies did a blue background, and I just thought it looked so cool with the pinks and the reds and those traditional Valentine's colors. So I thought for this one it might be fun to have a little pop of a different color. So my glitter embossing powder has a blue color to it and then silver glitter, and I thought that worked really good. And then at that point I thought I was done, but now we're on to another day, and I have this picture. I sort of thought this was the picture I was going to scrap originally, and then I thought that my son had actually given out all of the ones that we put together. This is the Valentine that we made for his class and his teachers and things like that. And I thought he had given them all away and that there weren't any left, and I was going to have to print another one out. So I kind of stashed that away and thought I'll create another layout with that. But then he surprised me and actually kept one because he wanted to give it to me as my Valentine's, and he only just remembered that this morning. Actually, this is this morning. He only just remembered that that he had kept it, and it was in in a bag of stuff. So he had it in a little bag. Sorry, he was just calling me and I paused there, and now I can't remember where I left off. So I'm going to start all over again. If I've repeated this, I'm sorry. Yeah, he had it in a little bag and he had it to give to me as my Valentine's. So I grabbed it this morning and thought, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can make it work. So you saw I tried to see if it was going to fit the other way, and I would have just pulled that mat off and twisted it to make it landscape instead of portrait, but it wasn't going to fit, and I didn't want to cut anything off of the sides there, so I went ahead and just popped it down like that. I had to pull up my little embellishment that I kind of put in the bottom corner of the photo mat, but that's okay. We'll get that back on there in a second. And then so I've done this same Valentine for all of my kids for their kindergarten Valentines. And so I have already scrapped this same style of photo several times. So it's kind of fun to be able to do something a little bit different for each one of the kids. But I do like to keep the sucker, or at least some sort of thing resembling a sucker, on the photo, because that's the whole point of the picture of the Valentine. And in order to kind of get the full effect of it, you have to have the stick in there to make it look like they're handing you that stick. So I went ahead and cut the candy part off, kept the wrapper as best as I could, cut the stick down just a little bit because I didn't need it quite that long. And then I took one of those foam hearts that I had used in the clusters going down that right hand side, and I used that to kind of resemble the candy sucker. It's much smaller though, and so I thought to give it a bit more of a pop of color and give it a little bit more scale, I added a bunch of sequins in there. So it sort of became a sucker packaging shaker pocket. So that is really fun. I don't think I've done that with any of the other sucker pictures that I have for the other kids. So I've got my little shaker pocket, and kind of now you get the effect of the sucker, and I taped it all back down, so hopefully it will last a while, and we won't have to worry about any of those sequins coming out. I didn't want to fill it up too much because I don't know in the long run how well that packaging is going to stay sealed and kind of last, but it's got a few sequins, it's got that sticker. And now you see the stick that I've popped through and kind of glued everything down. Even the stick is kind of glued down with some adhesive so it's not going to fall out or move around. There was a little bit of adhesive that was kind of showing through the packaging, and so I'm going to put this little bow on there just to disguise that, a little red and white bow with some ribbon. I didn't want to do something too big because I don't want to take away from all the hearts that are running down my little heart column, so just a tiny little bow there to disguise some of that adhesive. And then you saw me pop my little cluster, instead of it being at the bottom of the picture, it's now up at the top of the picture. And that is it. That's my layout using my X winning bingo combination. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and go check out all the other videos for the crop. Until next time, happy scrapping. Bye.